Welcome inside Mike Delivers from his wife's 2017 Toyota RAV4. Here's your host, Mike Biseglia.
That's right. This is Jess Delivers, episode 109. It's a special podcast edition. And I'm your host, Mike Biseglia. And I'm coming to you from my wife's, also my kids' living area thing outside the kitchen in Bloomfield, New Jersey. I've done 1,301 deliveries, and I have yet to steal food and will not steal food from anybody. I have a 99% satisfaction rating. You can find this podcast where all major pods are found, including Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, and of course Apple Podcasts. And if you're an Apple Podcast listener, go ahead, give a 5-star rating, leave a comment. If you leave that comment, I will sing that on a future episode. Shout out to the O'Brien Creative Group. They created my awesome looking logo. If you need logo design, brand identity development, or just want your website worked on or created, head over to the o'briencreativegroup.com for more information on them. You can see that in my show notes right here on the Mike Delivers podcast. Don't forget as well, the Mike Delivers Patreon page continues to grow. Jess and I are having a lot of fun doing that with our blindfold taste testings, where Jess shoves food in my mouth. I have a blindfold on my eyes, which is technically her pantyhose, which I think we need to wash, not because you've worn them, but because they've just been on my face for the last 3 months. Also, bonus edition episodes on there, videos, so a whole lot of other fun. You can see the video version of a bonus podcast we do. All of this for just $4 a month. Head over to patreon.com or download the app on your phone. Type in Mike Delivers, and that's where you can find me. Jess, no stories from the road this week, but that's because I wasn't able to get on the road and do deliveries, but we will have stories from the delivery room. How are you doing today? You look beautiful, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Look at those eyes.
I
Gorgeous.
put on real clothes for the first time.
Oh, you look great. By the way, I feel awful. I look like crap. I'm wearing blue shorts and a blue t-shirt. Even I was like, I don't think you can do this.
Well, I lost like 10 pounds since the last time we recorded.
I know. Well, you gave birth, so that I think had something to do with it, right?
A little bit. Pretty good for 1 week, though.
Ryan Tyler Biseglia, who's, while we're recording this, is 6 days old?
6 days old.
6 days old.
Yes.
Man, do you think he looks bigger than the first day he arrived?
He looks more like a real baby.
Yes. He looks like a real baby.
He filled out, yeah.
You know, he looks great. Okay, so as I mentioned, normally, of course, we do stories from the road, the crazy stuff that happens when I'm delivering food. But I thought this week we'd have some fun and just this was actually your idea, so I shouldn't even say I thought.
This is my idea?
It was your idea. You're like, all of the great podcasts do this. I listen to all these podcasts and they do this. That was you, right?
I've listened to podcasts where they talk about, they talk about the delivery of their kid.
Yeah, so I thought let's talk.
It's always a different story.
And I mean, the name of this podcast has Delivers in the name, so I mean, it is technically I've been doing 1,301 deliveries. This was just like a more important delivery than a chimichanga, but
very involved in this delivery. More so than I was expecting.
More so than I was expecting. And the doctor, we'll get to this in a minute, but the doctor's like, "Do you want to look?" And I'm like, well, I don't want to disappoint the doctor, so I said yes.
Oh my god,
that was really the answer. I was like, what if I say no and she doesn't like me? I would need her focused on everything that's going on over there.
Have you ever heard of this book called Codependent No More? You should probably read it.
I hope our doctor doesn't listen to this podcast.
I think you're safe on that.
Okay, so let's get to it. It was 1:30 in the morning on a Tuesday evening.
So no laboring on Labor Day.
No laboring on... Although maybe you did
There were
have
some
contractions.
signs, but I was like, I'm fine. Yeah. That's kind of the theme of the morning was, I'm fine.
I'm fine. Because you're too fucking tough is the problem. So Tuesday morning, 1:30, you get up. You did not wake me up until 3:30. And this is why I love you. You're so funny. You're like, I'm sorry to wake you up. I just don't feel great. I'm like, Jess, you could be going into labor any second. For the love of God, if you didn't wake me up and you just drove to the hospital and called me at 6, hey, Mike, I'm in the delivery room if you want to join. Thank you for telling me. So 1:30, you get up. Describe how you were feeling at that moment.
I just felt like, I don't know, crampy. Like general, abdominal cramp. Like, that was it. But it wasn't like it was kind of all the time. It wasn't in like I always heard contractions were like every 5. They're coming close. They're coming every 5 minutes. Da, 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 da. It wasn't like that at all. It was just sort of generic. And I was reading a book. So I just continued to keep reading that book called The Boyfriend Project because I read really highbrow literature. So I read this book kind of off and on and just kind of squirmed in. And I had gone to the guest bedroom because I was like squirmy. And I just was like, I didn't want to wake you up. That was the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I just kind of hung out there. And then you were like, okay, well, I'll come and like lay on the floor with you in there. And I was like,
you were then you went to hang in the bathroom. And I'll just be completely transparent. I love the sound of running water. So you were running the shower water just like as a soothing way to relax. So I took my blanket, took my pillow, hung out outside the bathroom. It was so relaxing. It relaxed you. Like I enjoyed it. I know you were riding in pain, and I'm just sitting there being a schmuck. But in truth be told, I'd want to be there for you. And help you out.
And then you actually had the good idea of just to go downstairs and watch Boy Meets World, which is what we're currently binging.
Yes. But you want to do a spin-off podcast?
Yes, I do. I really think
don't say it, because then someone will steal it, and I
want to do something with it. But anyway, we came downstairs and watched like one episode of that, or we started watching an episode.
I don't remember exactly.
So we just like, it was literally 3:30 in the morning. We're just like sitting there. Our cat is like, "What is happening? Is it time?
Confused.
I'm not hungry. Is it time to eat?" Like,
but I can make room.
I could eat.
I could eat.
So
he was baffled by what the hell was happening.
At that point, it was like these crampy things were becoming like regular, and I was like, "Ooh." What a contraction felt like. Nobody really talks about this.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff. And the theme of this is there's not a lot of stuff people talk about.
Yeah.
Like, and then you just do it and you're like, oh, I guess that's what they meant.
Well, then if you had to describe in your own words what a contraction feels like a painful one, what would be, now, make this so a man and a woman could understand.
Like you have to poop really bad.
Okay, like that diarrhea feeling.
Like that feeling like you're in traffic and you have to have diarrhea and you're like, I'm so far from a toilet. It felt like that towards the end. It felt like that, but somebody was taking my hips and breaking them in half.
Okay,
at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that wasn't good.
No.
Spin-off story we could do another time. Came back from Japanese restaurant. Have I told you this story with my friend Dan Goldwhite? And he had to go to the bathroom so badly after we had Japanese food. Couldn't make it to the bathroom. Bathroom floor. Couldn't make it to the one step away. That's not important, though. That's a side story.
No, I think of one time that I had my brother and I went to the season opener at PNC Park, and it was like 35 degrees to the Pirates game. And I was in college, but I drove him back home to my parents' house, and I remember just white knuckling it through the tunnels out of Pittsburgh because I was like, they were doing this thing that year where they did a different if they had 30 cuisines or whatever from every single ballpark, and I did a Maryland crab cake. And that was apparently a bad decision.
Welcome to the ball game. It's Pittsburgh Pirate Baseball. Tonight is Maryland Crab Cake, which is actually from the Giant Eagle.
Yeah, from the
Good luck, everybody.
The weird fish in the mutant fish in the Allegheny River.
If you can make it 7 innings, it's a win for you.
Yeah, that's like what I always think of. So yes, so I think everybody at one point in their life has had that feeling of I'm not going to make it.
Yes.
It's like that, but every 5 minutes for like 8 hours.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's a good way to describe it. Because I know you've said cramps before, and I just want to make sure, like, I just don't know how to relate to that.
To be honest,
I don't want to, I just
kind of what cramps feel like, to be honest, to me at least. But then we had done some virtual baby class, and they told us to download this contractions app, which I did.
Yeah, it actually was super helpful.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, so it went from like just general pain to like, breather. And I was like, okay, this might be a contraction because my body's never done this before. And then I started to put them in on the app, and after the 4th one, it was like, call your doctor now.
Which you did. You called, and the doctor said, just come on in.
Yeah, the doctor was like, come on in. You're probably okay. She's like, you sound okay.
But you might have. better to be safe than sorry,
Yeah.
and then,
So you just
Ugh.
flew into motion and got the suitcases in the car, and the cars moved, and
Yeah.
all that jazz and everything, and I just kind of sat there.
See, you never watched Ghostbusters, so this metaphor won't even work.
I've seen part of it.
But when they get their
400
first
times.
call to go get ghosts, and they like just scramble and they get everything and they go down
Not
the pole,
really.
I felt like a Ghostbuster.
Well, you were very good. I mean, we had most of our...
Minus, putting out a ghost.
Yeah.
But I felt like a Ghostbuster. It was fun.
We had everything pretty much organized. We had a checklist for the last minute things to put in, and
Yeah.
that was... And then you moved my car, you got your car, because we assumed we'd be coming back with a baby. Spoiler, that did not happen.
So we get in the car, we go, this is like 5-something, it's like a 23-minute drive to the hospital, and these contractions are starting to come fast. They're continuing the pace inside of my wife's 2017 Toyota RAV4. Like, they are continuing to go. They're coming. So we get to the hospital, we park in front, I double park, get you out, and the security guy couldn't be nicer. He's like, just leave your car here, it's fine for a little bit.
Yeah,
I walk
we
you...
were the only people in the hospital, which was
Yes,
lovely.
it was 5 whatever in the morning. Walk you to the... They show you where it goes. We didn't know where to go because...
Well, we had to go
COVID.
through the COVID protocol
because
first.
of COVID-19... Well, I would say it's because of COVID-19, we had never been to this area before.
Yes.
Normally, you would, do a one-day tour. You're like, this is where you're coming in. This is where you'll labor.
Yes.
This is where your baby
We
will
had to get our temperature checked before we even got in the
Yes.
door. So we did that.
So walked you up, went upstairs. I came back, parked the car, brought up the suitcase, all the fun foods and the little things that we packed, and moseyed on back upstairs. Now this is where I'll let you be the cruise director here. Some of it goes in and out for me here because the first. Was it a doctor that came in, or was it a nurse practitioner?
I don't really understand what I don't.
I'll say this and then I'll shut up. The thing I learned from this experience, well, there's a lot of things, but one of the things was there's different levels of doctors and nurses,
Yes.
and it's here's the doctor, here's the nurse, there's a lot of different.
There's the micro doctor.
It's kind of like to me, it's like karate. This doctor has a black belt. There was different levels of doctors.
Yeah, well, there are different. So there's residents, there's attendings, there's visiting doctors. Yeah, there's a lot of different. There's a lot of there are. It's not just generic.
Yeah, it was confusing.
And with nurses, there's a bachelor's in nursing, master's in nursing, nurse practitioner. There's a lot of different things. So
Right.
I have to tell you, this first part. I mean, this would have been probably where you would get the information on a tour.
Yeah.
So they took us into intake, which I thought was going to be paperwork.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm strapped up to a monitor
Yeah.
and people are coming in and out. And I have to tell you, this group was disorganized.
This by far
Was the worst part of it.
part of it. Labor was this group.
We had this nurse who looks at my van and goes, "Well, I don't know if I can put an IV in that." And I'm like, "Don't fucking say
I know.
that."
I was like, Oh boy.
And she got it right on the first time. It was
Yeah,
really
but you gotta
and
just-
then she took blood from me and she left it on the heating
I was like, "Do you
vent.
need
Mike
this?"
was like, "Do you need this?"
Well, my favorite part of what that nurse said was, she goes, "What year were you born?"
Don't make me laugh. It hurts. Okay, you say
And you were like 9/4/85, and she goes, "Oh, 1969." You go 1969.
I'm like, I look 18, not 16.
It's like, she looks great, huh? Like, yeah, right.
No, this woman was so confused.
Yes.
So you have to understand, this is
First child at 58.
this was our first touch point with anybody.
And then even before that, so you go in there and then the nurse starts to do I don't know, nurse stuff to the person that's pregnant, touching things and going things and moving around things. And she was under the impression that you were just having, I don't know, snot that.
Yeah, so she's like, so when's your next doctor's appointment? She just looked at me. She
Right.
physically, she was just like, okay, so when's your next doctor's appointment? I was like, well, it's supposed to be today at 3. She goes, okay, well, so after you have that, we'll see where things at. And so basically she didn't check me, but she was under the assumption that
you were going to go back. And
Yeah,
that was
but-
shocking to me because when we went in there, I was like, this is it. I would have been, if we had to go home and then do that over, I would have been like, oh, fuck. I was like, this is it.
Well, that's why
I was shocked when she said that.
That's why I waited so long to go, because I was afraid of them doing that. And so, yeah, she was just like, okay. And then she brought in 2 doctors who, I don't know if one was a teaching doctor. I don't know. There were 2 of them. So one did an exam and was like, I think she's like really far along, and then the doctor, I think the higher doctor comes in and does the exam, and she's like, so like you have to be 10 centimeters dilated. Most people go into the hospital like 1 to 2, and I was between 6 and 7.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh my god!" And then right when they were discussing that, she popped my water.
Yes.
And it just went everywhere.
I have to be honest. When the water popped, because I was behind the glass, as they say, or the curtain, or I was behind you. I didn't see anything that was happening, but I just heard it, and the stunningness in their voice, like they couldn't believe it. And the truth be told is, they should have known. But I think a big factor in that is that you're just really tough, and you just don't let off the appeal. Like kind of like you're just so under control and tough. That they probably are used to people coming in with
that's what they said. Then they couldn't get over it. They just kept talking about it, and I was like, got it, cool, got it. Can I have this epidural? Could we stop talking about how I am so far along now?
There was some bad job there by them communicating to get the epidural to you.
Yes.
And that took a lot longer.
It took an hour and a half.
That took a lot longer than it should have. So that was the whole process of like, okay, this is happening. And it was just like, here we go.
Waiting for that epidural was having the longest time of my life.
That was rough.
For sure.
That was rough. And when they gave you the epidural, then finally we get you to the room.
Because they move you around. There's so much about this that I was so unclear on. So like you do this little like exam-y thing in one area.
Yep.
And then they take you to labor and delivery.
Yep.
And that's where I finally had the epidural. They were like, we can give you pain meds, but you're going to get the epidural right in time. So it doesn't even matter. And then an hour and a half later, I literally, I sent you out and I was like, you got to get them.
Yeah, I went out there and I got them. And I would say from that point on,
it was smooth sailing.
Everybody was great. It was like getting to that point.
I was like, if this is like how this whole thing is, kill me now.
Yeah,
like,
I'll be doing the delivery.
It was so incompetent, that first part. And then, from that moment to the very end, it was wonderful.
Well, the thing that hurt was the crossover in nurses. So I think that caused...
And if anyone is in medicine, they'll understand this. It was 7 a.m.
Yeah.
And 7 a.m. is the precious time where the night nurses and the day nurses switch from 6:30 to 7:30. Like, we weren't really allowed to contact them, but that was when I switched over.
That's what happened, and that's where the miscommunication hurt, and that's my theory on why it wasn't...
No, that is what happened.
That's what happened, and that's why it wasn't as smooth as it should have been.
Yes, that is, yes.
It almost makes me think they need to have then, like, a protocol for, well, what do you do when somebody does come in at this time? Like, I understand this is your 12 hours... And you
need to have like a floater or something.
I get it. Like when you've done 8,000 deliveries, you get jaded more or less by them, so you're not as maybe sympathetic as you should be, but you have to be.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that was irritating. But once you got the epidural and I had to leave the room, they wouldn't let me in there.
Yes.
I thought I'd be in there holding your hand.
No.
They were like, you gotta go. So I guess they don't want to see me faint or something.
Yeah, so, well, we won't go too into detail on that, but they were like, 2 junior doctors and a senior doctor there. I don't know what was happening. I think the person who did it was a student, but whatever, it worked. I couldn't walk for the next, 15 hours, so...
I felt old at a few points when, there would be, doctors coming in to train, and I was like, I'm definitely 5 to 10 years older than these people. That was, I was like, oh my God.
No, for sure.
I was like, when I think of doctors, I think of,
old men.
The
stethoscope,
stethoscope and gray hair and be like, oh yeah, my grandson got into Cornell. We're really proud. That to me is a doctor.
Yeah, no, these kids
not like a kid that's leaving there and then being like, you want to go to Buffalo Wild Wings and get beers? If
you really think about it, I actually taught med school 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe 11. Yeah. So... Yeah, that's a big difference.
It is. I just that really stood out to me.
Yeah,
so something that I didn't think of. Those are things I would never think about.
So yeah, the epidural was rough. It wasn't bad. It was just having to just imagine somebody saying, "I want you to be the stillest you've ever been in your entire life."
Yeah.
While you're in the most pain of your entire life. To
it's just a lot.
Just don't move. Don't move.
It's a lot. So moving forward from there.
That was helpful. That was epically helpful.
So the nurse that we had,
oh my God,
she grew on me. Oh yeah. At first, I was like, oh God,
she was the most competent nurse we could have had.
Yes, she was a machine.
She was fantastic, but she had zero bedside manner.
But the bedside manner improved as the day went along.
It did.
I think she was frustrated with the team before not getting her the information, and because her bedside manner was so poor, she couldn't communicate.
Well,
to us about it.
and this was something that came up a lot. So we wore masks 150% of the time. I labored in a mask. I never took it off the entire time. Everybody did, and she did not speak the clearest English, and that
Yeah.
made it really hard.
Sure.
When you can't watch somebody's mouth,
Yeah.
it makes it really hard to be like, what are you saying?
You know
to
how
me?
there's probably stuff I forgot from that happened in there. I know there is, but the one memory that I will never forget is when she asked
yelled at
me,
you for not having a pen.
She's like, I had to fill out some paperwork. Couldn't tell you what it is now. She's like, can you fill this out? I'm like, sure. And I'm like, do you have a pen? She's like, you don't have a pen? I was like, I'm like, I'm at the hospital.
She was so. She was so
like,
disappointed in you.
You looked at me and you're like, what the fuck?
Even I was like, are you kidding me? I'm sorry, let me
I
just get my
looked at
big pen.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry, I don't have my pen right now. Like, sorry to torture you right now to get a pen for me to sign paper, give you my social security
there was
number.
so much disdain in that. It was
so bizarre.
funny. But
that was bizarre.
she did a great job. And
she did. She did do a good job.
She was so on the ball. But yeah, she was just like, she was just intense.
She was intense.
So
she clearly was. And then they would have like a rotation of, as I said, different level doctors come in, and then I would say every 30 minutes, see how you were dilating. And I love the one doctor that came in, and she was like, "Ooh, Boy Meets World, nice! I love that show."
yeah, that
I was
funny.
like, "You're 36."
Yeah, no, that was funny. Yes, we did watch Boy Meets World. That's what we did.
Yeah, we watched Boy Meets World in there.
We put my iPad on and just watched that. And that was all we did.
That's all we did. Yeah, it was.
They'd come in, we'd pause it.
I'm glad you picked that as your like birthing show. Did it help you relax?
It did. It actually really did, because it was something I was familiar with, but I haven't seen it in.
So it still felt new.
Because it hasn't been. So when did Disney Plus start?
I was doing Taz and the Moose, so sometime
End of 2019.
It was 2019.
Okay, but so Boy Meets World has not been in the public domain ever before.
Really?
Yes. So there was no way that we could have ever seen
I
it
didn't know
previously. That's why the last time I saw it was like a freaking Disney Channel rerun. And I was in like high school or something.
I didn't know that.
So we both had watched it and both had loved it. Both of us had.
Yeah,
but we never
classic.
watched it together. So when I was about, 39 weeks, we started watching it. Because I said I didn't want to be in that first season.
Yeah, no, you made the right decision.
But the first season was great.
It was, but it was good to have a little establishment.
No, which is fine. I just thought, in my head, the first season sucked.
It was better than I thought, yes.
The writing is exceptional on the show.
We're on season 3. I think season 3 is fantastic. I always, in my mind, thought season 2 was the better of the seasons. Rewriting my whole train of thought on that. Granted, it's at 37 years of age. I'm changing my thought on that. And the other point, too, is the continuity errors
are horrible.
Horrible on Boy Meets World. And also, the way that they scheduled the episodes, I'd love to know, A, when they recorded them, and their idea for putting these plans together. Because, Topanga will be in love with Corey, and then one episode later, they don't even talk to each other like they don't like each other.
And then she will be in 4 episodes. And then they have a weird Harley Kiner. One episode, it's a different actor.
Yeah, one episode, Corey's he's 5'2". Then he's 5'8", Corey.
Yeah.
He's 5'2". It's you may have wanted to, I don't know, organize the episode based on
it
his
is
growth spurt
amazing.
and puberty levels.
Yes, and you can clearly tell when they take a couple months off and everybody comes back at a different stage of puberty.
Yeah, how was Thanksgiving? Oh, my balls dropped.
Yeah,
Thanks for asking.
It's I have a C cup now. Yeah, it's bizarre.
I know.
But the writing is fantastic.
Yes.
But the continuity errors
Terrible.
are oh my god.
Just terrible.
What was the budget on this?
I know. Oh, I know. But again, like you said, it was a good show. It did the trick. I'm glad you liked it. I enjoyed watching it.
There was nothing else I could do but watch TV at that point.
Yeah.
So
but like I was saying, that nurse that came in, it's just so funny to me, just the I guess from my perspective, because I don't go to these kind of checkups all the time, that you could have this woman feeling for your dilation, and at the same time being oh, Corey Matthews was great. I'm just how are both of these things happening at the same time?
You don't understand. I was basically paralyzed at that point from the waist down, so you could do whatever you wanted to me at that point.
It's just so funny to me to see a doctor so nonchalant about having to do something that I would never want to do.
No.
Or never be qualified to do, and at the same time be hey, did you see the game yesterday? I'm Focus. Focus.
No, that's all they do. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Amazing what
also,
they do.
just I'm impressed by that too, because it's like, how do you like it's just your job, and like this is what you do. Like these are the things you see.
The thing I'm most surprised by, it's like obviously you go to the doctor, you see them in the doctor's office, and then they also have, and we kind of talked to our doctor about like the woman who delivered. We asked her about her schedule and stuff, because we had a lot of time between contractions to chit-chat, basically. And we were asking her about her schedule and, like, how it works when you're in the hospital some days and you're in the office some days. And then they like, come back, and then they do the circumcision. I'm like, you guys do everything.
Yeah, they do everything.
You birth babies, you do surgery, you see a routine doctor's appointment, you do circumcisions. I'm like, do you need, like, somebody else to help you out with this stuff?
Oh, I know. It's crazy.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Hopefully that job pays well.
I'm sure it does, but I'm sure their insurance is also through the roof.
I mean, it's just like you can't make mistakes.
No, you cannot.
It's not like, like if I make a mistake at work, my boss calls and goes, why didn't the guest show up on time? You can't be like,
oops,
why weren't you crowning?
Yeah, where were you for labor?
The importance level is like so different.
Yeah,
but it puts a frame of reference in like anything you do in life. It's like, it doesn't like stress.
No, basically what they do matters the most.
That to me is so impressive, that they can be so calm and so.
She was so
like
chill.
I'm like, so much respect to be able to be that calm in those kind of circumstances.
Yeah, she's like sitting like
Indian
style at the end of my bed, just like.
Right. It's like, push. You can do it.
And then she's like, do you have any pets?
Should I do Chinese tonight or Thai? What are you feeling tonight? Push.
Yeah,
like,
no.
That to me, I was like, wow. Like, I mean, it was impressive.
Yeah, the whole thing was, that was. Yes, were you to say something?
Oh, no, I was to say another nugget with the doctor we had that I thought was really interesting was you had a doctor that you saw how many times during this whole process?
My main doctor?
Your main
well, I mean, I see him all the time, and then I saw him probably like 4 or 5 times throughout this.
I went one time with you to the doctor. This is
pre-COVID,
and it was the doctor that we had that gave that did the delivery. So I saw her that one time.
Which was so weird, because I went 1,000 more times.
Right, but I could not go to the doctor after because of COVID protocols. So then when we went to the delivery room, and it's just, what it's like. No one can, you can't pick the doctor you're having because you don't know who's on call that day when you go into labor.
Yeah.
So the fact that we had the only doctor I saw
was nice.
For me, it felt comforting.
Yeah.
I can't tell you. I mean, it's all about you, but I'm just saying, like, selfishly, I was like, oh, I know her.
It's the only time I ever met her.
Crazy, right?
No, it was the only time I ever met her, but I liked her immediately.
No, she was
awesome.
She was great. No, she was great.
She was super chill.
Yeah, super chill. But it's just funny that's...
Yeah.
It was almost like meant to be in a sense.
Yeah, no, it was nice. But yeah, so we just kind of like watched Boy Meets World, and I writhed in pain, but then it went away. But then it got worse. Then
I
asked for more drugs, and then it got better.
And then it was game time.
Things I was very surprised by was how much there was not a lot of fanfare getting into game time. It was just, all right, let's do it. It was, and it was just.
Right, they didn't announce the starting lineups.
Nope, did not announce. It was 2 doctors.
Yeah.
The nurse.
Yes. Yeah.
And
right.
you.
Yeah.
It was 4 people.
Right.
It was very chill.
I would agree with that. I, in my head, always thought that like a baby delivery would be like
an OR, like
6 people, like give me this, give me that, and
it
wasn't like that at all. It was in grand total. It would have been 4, me, you, doctor, and the nurse. The doctor ended up having like a high-end resident come in and help.
Yeah, we couldn't quite figure out her deal because she really did the delivery, and she was fantastic. I mean, this was not a student. She could have been like a high-level attending or something. I don't know.
Yeah. No, she was high level. She was like borderline.
Oh yeah, she was just doing her thing, and she was great. Yeah, so it was just way more chill than I ever thought it would be.
Very chill.
Chill. And then afterwards, it got a little chaotic.
It did. Before we get to that, I do want to say, like, how do you learn how to do this stuff? Do you how you just, besides doing it, like, is there practice
clinics
videos?
and stuff? And
how do you practice because you can't just like on demand.
No, you start early in med school, like observing, like really early in med school.
Yeah.
Observing and then getting involved little bit by little bit by little bit.
What's so crazy to me about this, though, I don't know. Maybe it's not that big of a deal, but it was my first time doing something like this, so it felt like that. Was you don't know who you're gonna see. Like, you don't know what you're putting your hands on.
Oh, I think
like,
about that
what am I getting today? Like,
yeah, no, I think.
Oh my god!
I think about that every time I go. I'm like,
okay, here we go.
I'm like, this can't be the worst thing they've seen today.
Right. Just that to me. I again, like I'm not going to OBGYN visits, but it just, to me, that's like blows my mind.
Yeah, the whole thing was, it was just like different. Everything was different than I expected. The actual like getting him out was like not that bad.
So how, from your perspective of the pushing, how was that?
It was like hard because I couldn't feel anything.
Yeah.
It was hard. It was not in pain. I couldn't feel anything, and so. But it was also hard to. It's also like you telling me to like make a muscle with my arm, and I can't feel my arm. It's like, I'm trying, but it was fast.
It was fast.
It was like a little more than an hour. The whole thing.
And once you got towards like not the end, but getting close towards the end, where the head was starting to poke his cute little head out, the doctor, as we started this episode talking about, the doctor goes, "Do you want to see the head?" And I said, okay. So I walked on over with her, and then I saw you, and then I was like, there's his head.
She's like, do you want a mirror? And I'm like, absolutely not.
Well, the thing, too, is that you couldn't see this, but from my end, the TV up, there was a reflection right on your hoo-ha. I'm like, you could see everything. It was like Channel 7. There you were.
Oh, God, that's so gross.
I don't know. I kind of liked it. It was just kind of cool to see. I was like, this is the process. You got to trust the process.
And then he came flying out. Literally.
I couldn't believe, too, once the head got through, how the rest of the body just
came out.
Slipped on through.
And there he was. And he was very slimy.
Very slimy. I'll let you be the
arbiter of information.
on this part of the process.
Well, he was just a little overcooked, as I think everybody who would listen to this podcast knows.
Yeah.
So there's really only one major issue you run into when the baby's a little overcooked, and it's the issue we ran into as well, is that they poop inside of you. So he pooped, and then he inhaled it. Ugh. And he was covered in poop, and he was inhaling lots of it. So they had to like suction it all out and lots of fun stuff like that. And then he ended up having to go to the NICU, which is where the neonatal intensive care unit, which is where they put babies that are like usually preemies. This is about the only time a fully formed baby goes in there. Oh, but I guess I should say, so he came out at 6 pounds 13 inches 13 ounces 19 inches at 2:45. So he was born in about
p.m. Eastern.
Yes, he was born about 12 hours from the very beginning, which is like pretty fast for all things considered. So then they whisked him off to the NICU to take care of him. And that part kind of sucked because you're supposed to, like, have time with them, like, cuddle them and get all this, like, hormone stuff. So I couldn't do that because they obviously took him. But I also couldn't get off the table because they wouldn't let you. You had to be able to stand on your own to leave. And I couldn't stand for, like, 6 more hours.
Well, the whole thing, too, was like, Dad, you want to come see him? And I was like, yeah, of course. Like, in the room, so I walk around, but I have to go around 2 nurses who are, like, stitching you up, and there's, like, placenta flying in my face, and I'm just like, okay, let me make a move to see this kid. And they're, like, I'm like, oh my God, that was inside of you? No wonder you were in pain.
No, the whole thing, the end part was a little chaotic. That was kind of, I thought the whole thing would be, though, so I wasn't really surprised. I kind of thought the whole thing would be just, like, chaos.
No, but they cleaned him up, took him out, And then,
So you went to visit him a bunch of times, and I just couldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't visit him till I could stand up on my own power, and that took forever.
Yeah.
Like forever. And all I wanted to do was eat something and see the baby, and I wasn't allowed to do either of
Yes.
them because they were like worried I'd get sick from the anesthesia. And then finally, after like an hour and a half, the nurse that we thought was super mean, but she ended up being cool, like brought me in a cheese platter
Yes.
and some apple juice, and I was like, oh God, thank you. I'm so hungry.
and we'll talk about this. You can head over to the Mike Delivers Patreon page. We're going to do a full food review on every meal that we had in the hospital / takeout. Because it was extensive, because we were there because Ryan was in the NICU for a couple of days. You delivered on Tuesday. We left on
Thursday.
Friday.
No, they sent us home on Thursday.
No, I mean, he left on Friday.
He left on Friday, so we had to go home without him.
We went home without him on Thursday, but we brought him home on Friday. But the point was, there were many meals that were delivered.
Yeah.
while we were
And,
waiting.
yes.
Hospital food,
Which was
restaurants
not
in the
bad,
area.
by the way.
Oh my God, the hospital food was tremendous. It was fantastic.
And more than that, we had, like, nobody, we weren't telling people what was happening. Because, like, having a baby in the NICU is kind of intense. Like,
yeah.
it's just not what you ever think. You're like, I'm taking home a kid. Yeah, I'm going to the hospital to have a baby. I'm going to bring him home. And then you come home without him. And it's, like,
Yeah.
kind of depressing. And you just don't know what's going on. And, they ran 1,000 tests on him. And which all came back completely fine. Like, he is fine. He's completely fine, which is great. It was just an extended stay, so it ended up being a very long week. But everywhere we went, everybody was just like super lovely
Yes.
to us. Like,
I'll say a story that's about a restaurant we went to, but I have never had I don't know if it's a busboy or the guy.
it was a food runner. He brought us the food. Yeah,
A food runner that like legit made me cry.
I know.
I mean, this was legit made me cry. So on the Thursday night that we got discharged, but Ryan still had to stay in the hospital.
We stayed.
We stayed, and what we did was we would do like feedings at like 12, 3, 6, and 9. So between the 6 and 9 feeding, we went for dinner. And I knew of a place that I had been to one time before, and it's like a really old, like, it's a cool boathouse.
Yeah.
It's called the Boathouse, and it's just a really, like, American restaurant that's got pastas, meats, but it's on the water.
It's like
it would have been, like, pre-COVID, like a great bar outside. Really fun place to just hang out.
Place you'd vacation almost.
Yeah, it looks like you're. It looks like you're in the Poconos, and this is the. It looks like. You know what? This is how it looks. It looks like this is the ski resort restaurant.
Yeah,
and that's where you're going.
But yeah, this is obviously on a lake.
On a lake, but it hit the spot for what we were doing.
Yeah.
So we go there. I got the Caesar salad with steak, which was excellent. We split the Rhode Island style fried calamari. You got a Caesar without the steak. You just got a Caesar salad.
We each got a glass of. I got a glass of wine.
I got a
oh.
Sam Adams. And we said to the waiter when he put in the order, who was nice too, not downplaying he wasn't nice, like, hey, just bring the food all out when it comes. You don't need to do like the app first and the second.
We're at the hospital. Just bring it.
Bring it out. We want to eat and get the hell out of here. So the food came, I don't know, like in 8 minutes. I mean, it was like absurdly fast.
like we had like time to kill to get back.
Didn't even touch the drink. Had a sip. And he comes out, and you're wearing your Steelers mask.
Which I did labor in my Steelers mask and had the most comments about it. Literally, we talk Steelers like once every 2 hours.
Oh my
for 4
God.
days.
I know. I was like, that's one part we actually left out from this whole story that we should mention. When you were going in and out of the NICU, you had to go through security, which is good because you want it to be tight.
And the baby did have a low jack on his ankle, so nobody could steal him, which is very funny, but also is very safe.
So there was one security guard that was like a Giants fan, and you're wearing the Steelers mask.
Give me all kinds of shit.
Oh my God! And you two are like shit talking as you're walking out of the NICU, and I'm like, oh my goodness, God!
But then every other guard loved the Steelers, and then the people in the cafeteria loved the Steelers. Yeah, it was very fun.
It was cute.
And to be honest with you, I thought 0% about it. I grabbed the top mask on our little entryway table, and we walked out the door.
No, it was
because most of my good masks are in my car, and you drove, so it was just like
it was. Yes, so that is a backstory. You then were sitting at this restaurant. The runner comes with the food, and he goes, "Oh, are you a Steelers fan?" And you were like, "Yeah." And you were like, "Are you a Steelers fan?" He's like, "No. But like, did you see this amazing news with Ryan Shazier?" And to be truth, like at the time, I did not.
I had seen it on Instagram
because we were all busy or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was telling this great story about Ryan Shazier. And then, he was like...
He was just talking about what a miracle it is that he walks today.
He walks today. He's like, this is just such an amazing story. And then you were like, oh, that's
I had
awesome.
the picture, I think, of the baby open on my phone.
And then you were you said, yeah, you're like, yeah, you go, I delivered our son in this Steelers mask. He was born a couple of days ago. And he was like, we're just waiting for him to be discharged. He's at the NICU. And he was just like, oh, that is so beautiful. He's like, God bless you, and like, God bless Ryan Shazier.
No, he said it's 2 miracles.
2 miracles. And
yeah.
It was just like 2 miracles, and it was just the sweetest.
Yeah.
It was just so sweet. Like, I don't know. It just
some random like 25-year-old dude was
just like couldn't have been nicer about what had happened with him and.
And we were just so beaten up because we knew we were going home without our kid.
Sorry, I butchered that story a little bit.
That's all right.
But I just knew where I was going. It was awesome. He was a cool dude.
No, that was very nice because that was a challenging.
Yeah.
That was a challenging day to go home without him. But then by the time we got home, we were so tired. Didn't really matter.
So that's the story.
And then he got all checked out and
yes, that's
fair
so
enough. We basically lived in the hospital for. They don't let you sleep there when your kid's in the NICU, obviously.
Yeah.
So we ended up just basically bumming around there for like 24-ish hours.
Which got us extra meals at the hospital.
Yes, many extra. Yes, they thought we were. No, they gave us the employee discount. We'd been there so much. So
hey, that food was good.
It was good.
I like the one security guard was down there, the Giants fan.
Oh yeah.
And he looked at me and he goes, Psh, "Come here." I'm like, "Oh God."
Oh, he said to me, he goes, "You guys again."
And then he looked at, Psh, "Come here." I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" He goes, "Don't get the pizza."
That is very funny.
I was like, "Thank you."
That is very funny.
He was great. He was great. Anyway, so that's the story of Jess Delivered, episode 109. Episode 110, we're back to the wings. Food review coming on Thursday, so look out for that. Wing month continues. We don't have the exact wings yet, because we've been busy, but they will be there.
But
we will talk about
please give us suggestions. That would be very helpful just for the rest of the month, because it's not just, we know we're doing wings, but there's so many kinds. You could say like, okay, get the ones from, I don't know, let's just say another pizza place, Domino's. Which ones?
Right. There's
like,
Domino's has
what
their
if
wings. You
love their hot wings and we get the Parmesan garlic wings?
Yes.
Like, that's not a
Gotta
good...
get it right.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thank you for downloading this podcast. Don't forget, again, head over to the Mike Delivers Patreon page. Type in patreon.com or go to your phone app, download Patreon, Patreon. From there, you'll download the app. Just type in Mike Delivers. You get bonus content. As I teased before, we'll have full review of the restaurants that we tried on this excursion to the hospital. So we'll have all that and all the bonus food reviews, content, blind food taste tests. Blindfold food taste test is one of the hardest things I've ever said in my life.
I have a question for you.
Oh.
What's the best thing you ate in the last week?
Oh, yes, we have to do that. The best thing I ate in the last week.
So it's Monday.
Great question. We've been eating good.
Very good.
Very good. I would have to say it was probably Masters. Oh, okay, this is deep. So the best thing, I mean, Ralph's Pizza was probably the best, but
Ralph's Pizza, made famous by Barstool Sports.
Oh yeah, and it's been around since 1971, which will let you know. The pizza I had from Master's Pizza in Livingston, although not as good, when you have not eaten in 21 hours and seen a delivery and you could eat your arm off, that was one of the best meals of my life. So I hope Master's Pizza is on Instagram, but I'm going to go with Master's Pizza. I cannot lie.
That was the most satisfying thing I've had in a long time. That's one of those meals you'll never forget.
Which is crazy too, because like we had all these other great meals that we talked about. The Boathouse meal, Friday night when we had Stamina, when we ate with my parents, and then Saturday and Sunday with your parents, we had some awesome meals too from Ralph's Pizza.
We've had
and
so
Cafe
much
Giotto. Like Those are all three of those are great restaurants.
I mean,
better than Masters.
I think
but it was just the Masters.
No, I think I like the. I would say Trader Giotto's. Jesus, the Cafe Giotto's pizza. I actually think is the best pizza I had. Which we had a lot of pizza this week. But yeah, nothing was as satisfying. I mean, I hadn't eaten in 26 hours.
Yeah, you were a hungry lady.
I was so hungry.
So hungry.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. That's the best thing we ate this week. I mentioned the Patreon page. Shout out to the O'Brien Creative Group. Those guys are the best. They helped with this logo. I highly recommend that. I'm getting yelled at for hitting the pen on the paper. Episode 110, Wing Month. The Wing Month, our wing tasting. That's on Thursday.
TBD.
Check that out. We'll have something. I don't know what that is. And then moving forward as well, we'll go back to stories from the road and all the fun stuff that's happened. We still haven't talked about the delivery where...
To our neighbors?
Yeah, to our neighbors. Oh, and also, I forgot to mention this too. Leon, the human being, not the cat, texted me. He has a friend in Richmond that's an Uber Eats driver. He was able to do an Uber Eats delivery to himself.
Oh, that is the dream.
I need to have him on the podcast
Yeah,
to talk about how
yeah.
you can accomplish that. That needs to happen.
Because I really just want to try it for shits and giggles. There's no other reason.
Right, no, it's a fun experiment for the podcast.
Well, I just think it helps you figure out the algorithm even better.
Totally.
So,
no, totally.
That's fantastic.
So that happened. Anyway, all right, so we got all that. This has been episode 109. Jess, thanks for coming on. An odd number episode. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I had to clear my schedule. Actually, I had to really check with the baby scheduler. He really dictates things right now.
We probably should be good parents. Okay, we should probably go. We'll see you next time for episode number 110. Bye.
Bye.